Hi and welcome to another episode of India Diary, which explores the soul and genius of India in Indians everywhere. This one is special because you know what? Everyone has had to learn and relearn and reset themselves during these pandemic times. So we present to you the first edition of the Covindian, how people have reinvented themselves. And today I have with me two beautiful girls who are totally sassy and off their heads maybe a little bit because they came up with this amazing game called Malayali Aano. So Rosemary is an avid doodler and has a great eye for detail. She is the founder and curator of My Cup of Tea, a pop-up that comes up all over India where she showcases other people's talent. And she's also the co-founder of LOL Salam, which is the maker of this card game. She has also gone to Sophia College in Bombay and has done her masters in fashion in NIFT. And we also have with us Sona, who is also the co-founder of LOL Salam, and she has her own entertainment company. She has a degree from Parsons, New York, but she's extremely self-taught and has believed that aesthetics is the name of the game. Her tryst with being an artist she started at the age of 6 when she picked up her paintbrush. And all I can say is that the rest is history. You put Rosemary and Sona together, what brews is really the essence of being a Malayali. Chaya, Kadi, Cheetar. Ade Malayali Aano. Here they are, Rosemary and Sona. So wonderful to have you with me.
Wonderful to be here too. We're very excited about this.
How did this game really come along?
In simple words, it came out of boredom and a lot of free time. But the longer version of the story is that I had always wanted to do something with like Malayalam culture and stereotypes and this big bank of content we have in terms of like, you know, the dialogues and the movie songs and just so much that only we relate to.
Yes.
And I'd been thinking about ideas about doing something like a coffee table book or like, you know, capturing people's conversations into like a book of sorts, but nothing was really like exciting enough to do it yet. I'm like, this is really good, but I want to do something really exciting with it. And then this was a good 2 years ago, and then one day she comes home.
Yeah, so we've been friends for like the last couple of years, and we met through common friends. And I mean, something that really connected us is because of this vibrant personality that love things that we love together, like a lot of different things. And one of that was Malayalam cinemas from like the very beginning.
Yeah,
and so, also that you all are quite controversial and quite out of the box as well. Right?
We tried, but then we couldn't help it. It's who we are.
Exactly.
So there's an original version of this game which is called Cards Against Humanity.
That's right.
And they have an open license, which is how we were able to make a version of the game. I remember when they launched the game, which was a good 7 years ago. I just wanted to get my hands on it. So I remember whoever went to US, I told them to like bring it, and then it was part of my every house party like growing up, like back then, like in Bangalore, that was the scene, game nights and all of that. And you know, then there were many versions of the game, and I happened to play an Indian version of it. And I played with a bunch of Malayalis like right before COVID started, and it wasn't clicking the way it was supposed to click, and we were a bunch of Malayalis, and I thought like, what if there was a Malayalam version of it? So so that was like the eureka moment, like, but then I was just like, you know what, I can't like think about it right now because COVID and business shutting down and all of that, and then like relaxing, just enjoying the time. And then once the lockdown was like kind of like eased up a little bit, I went and met Sona, went to a place. And we were just randomly talking about things that we did, like, you know, watching movies and memes and, you know, like how the internet kept us entertained, basically.
We were actually talking about the amount of Malayalam movies we actually ended up watching because of that free time and how the social media pop culture game has like really picked up in that time, right? People were getting really creative and doing some amazing things on social media, TikTok and all of that. Like the Malayalam pop culture was just like
booming.
It was shooting, right?
Totally.
So we were talking about all of that,
and there is nothing like Malayali and Malayalam Malappu, no?
Oh, nothing
that's
like
nothing.
Oh my
So
God,
if you
yeah.
are a Malayali, or even if you are a half Malayali, you would actually pick up a card and you would probably have an answer, and only you would know what UDF, LDF, and BDF stands for. Right? BDF is beef dry fry, and that is the perfect combination with parota. How did you really think of putting it together, and how was the process? Where did you start? I mean, you needed to start somewhere, because this is not just a shoddy little game made out of chart paper. I mean, there's a lot of thought gone into this, the quality and stuff like that. So yeah, so what made you think of, okay, let's go into production?
So it was that moment when she came home and she spoke about all of this, and then she said, oh, you know, I was thinking of what about this in Malayalam. And for me, that was that moment, that medium that I was looking for to convert all of this content into something really interactive and in a much more creative way, right? Because you're not just looking at one dialogue anymore. You're looking at that dialogue put together with the possibility of like 100 other iconic things, and the kind of things you can create out of it
Yes.
is crazy. So for me, it was an instant like, let's do this, right? And I pulled out, I had those notes I'd written down for
couple
that
of years ago,
a few
yeah.
years ago.
Uh-huh.
I pulled out that evening we sat and wrote like maybe 5 pages of content.
How did this entire visualization that you had inside your head and in notes finally end up being a reality?
I think both of us were kind of in sync to understand that Malayali Aano should be like a thing, because that's the first thing, like,
You asked somebody, right?
like yeah, wherever you are in the world and you happen to have a doubt that somebody is a Malayali, you don't even ask it in English. You're so confident that person's a
Yeah.
Malayali,
You
you
don't
say
ask it
Malayali
in
Aano.
English.
That's true.
Yeah.
I mean, talking about it, I was in Pune recently and I went to a shop to buy some batteries, and that guy told us, I said, how much is it? And I said it in Hindi, kitna hua bhaiya? And he said, 4 rupiah. I just looked at him and I said, and then he looked at me and said, Malayali Aano. I'm like, yes.
If you see somebody from, like, I don't know, Bombay, they always say, are you from India? They
Yeah.
never, like, then it comes, oh, where in India are you from? Or, you know, it's a secondary conversation. But when it's Malayalis, it's always like Malayali Aano.
Yeah.
Whether that person
There's
says
a-
yes or no, the question is asked in Malayalam.
Being a Malayali is actually a feeling.
Absolutely.
It is a feeling. It's a sense of getting goosebumps when you see the way people reacted during the floods, when people reacted during COVID times. There's so many things.
Be it youngsters or be it the older generation, there is this, you know, this crazy spirit that binds everybody together, like maybe a community to coming together, or a neighborhood coming together, or people from across the state coming together. There's this lot of like vibrance that
Yeah.
you know binds Kerala, and that's what I think that spreads when, you know, as like people, we go to other cities, and I think that's what like us Malayalis stand out for.
Okay, so tell me, okay, you've made the game and you've come up with all this. What were the stumbling blocks really?
Stumbling blocks, I wouldn't say block, but the part of the process that took us really long to figure out was to make sure that the content was kind of catered to all kinds of Malayalis. We wanted the 18 onwards, the younger, the college kids, and the just about 20s, them enjoying it with like more relevant, younger, today sort of culture, but also having like really old movies and like, you know, Paranjullu and like things like that
Yeah.
the other generation can also relate to, and things that people who live here can relate to, people who live outside Kerala can relate to, outside India can relate to. So all of those things. So coming up with that right combination of content, and also making sure that each question had at least like about 10 relevant and funny answers.
Yeah.
That is what killed
Yeah.
us.
Yeah, so you just lift up, a card, and the question is Aliya dash idu Chadi Aana. Okay, and you could actually, if there were 20 people playing the game, you could have had 20 different combinations. So, did you just make answers before doing the questions, or did you do the questions before doing the answers?
So we wrote everything, like we wrote whatever we could find, but in the end it has to like pull two, three strings in your heart. So
Yes.
for us it was nostalgia, which is what every Malayali across the globe can like come together to feel.
Yes.
And the other one was Malayali humor. Then we obviously had multiple categories of humor, characters and that, and politics, culture. We had to bring it all together. We had to write as many things. In fact, I think we have a list of like 800 odd answers. From there, we had to shortlist it to 400. So it was a lot of fun.
It was also a heartbreaking process to let
go.
Some cards, which we
you
creatively
wanted so
came up
much,
with. Yeah.
but you're like, no, but you have to go this time.
You're a curator of, exhibitions, My Cup of Tea. You run your own company in, Bangalore. So first tell me a little bit about your own jobs or your own little ventures, and then how that was so different or so similar to what Malayali Aano is.
I started My Cup of Tea like about 4 years ago
That's
now,
right.
2017, with my first event in
Cochin.
Yeah, in Cochin. I had no idea about what the future of My Cup of Tea is. I thought one event and that's it. I really love the fact that there's a lot of like artisans and weaves and amazing textures and things that is about
Yes.
India, and I wanted to see people who do that, and who continue to do that by supporting these local crafts, but also in a modern day representation of it.
Okay.
So that was my thing. It had to be handcrafted, but a modern day version of it. Yeah, I mean, I held that event in Pepper House, which became a huge hit, and then like I just knew that I didn't want to go back into corporate world. That was the only thing in
Yes.
front of me, and then one thing went to the other, and here I am 15, 16 editions down.
I know.
Across South India. COVID slightly took a, helped me, like it was a little bit of a backstep, but then it's okay,
That's
I'm okay
fine.
with it.
You're
Yeah.
okay
And
with it.
Malayali Aano came out of it.
Exactly.
So that's the biggest gift that could have happened. Yeah.
And Sona, tell me about your company.
So I run a design studio in Bangalore. We do graphic design work, which is mostly identity, logo design, and visualization for companies. We do also do some corporate communications and everything in the design field. Malayali Aano is related and unrelated, I would say. So before this, I spent a lot of years doing events. I was doing heading design for an event company. So under events, there's a lot of experience design that you do.
Yes.
Right? Like a lot of interacting design, and like you design small games for like people to come together and like all of
That's
that. So
right.
there was that sense of understanding what people like and like creating things that will get people going. And also the design part of it, like this box is designed by me. This is now retail, this is now e-commerce, and like it's completely new.
Yeah.
Like I've been in the service industry for so long that making something and selling is like a whole new
Yeah.
thing.
So
We
what
don't
is
know
your
how to do
company
that.
called?
It's called Backflip.
Backflip. And then, of course, wham, in your face is a game like Malayali Aano, which is actually, on one level, such a great amalgamation of both of you, because both of you stand for style and class, because I've seen it in the work you all do. But the content is crazy. But
We are
before
Malayalis first.
Yeah. And then we are all of the other.
you said you designed the box. So what was the reason to the colors, the font? How did you go about it? Why is it got age 18 plus and 4 plus players?
This green was decided, not this particular green, but green was decided on day one, along with us deciding to do this. We're like, oh, but like other cards are usually black and all that. Ours has to be green because like Kerala is green, right? That's what you miss most about it. The things that people really think of as Kerala as a visual is usually the top of a backwater shot. Right? Whether it's your God's Own Country ads or tourism ads, it's that backwater green picture that everybody has, that landscape that everybody has about Kerala, which is what I've tried bringing about in this, with the blue and the green. The font is written like big and bold and loud and proud and connected to each other. So it's really like how we are, right? We are Malayalis and we love finding our connections. So if you see, they're all hanging off each other.
Yes.
Like,
But the one thing that caught me about this game, it's called Malayali Aano, and it's called a party game for devil's own people. So I used to always say on the Kochi Twist, which is the show I do for Radio Mango, it's like, God's own country in devil's own backyard. Yeah. You didn't just go for any kind of cheap paper, you really manufactured it properly. So who did you go to get this manufactured?
it's done in Bangalore by this person who I've worked with for a few years. So it's again like small business. We wanted to work with a
Yeah.
small business. We didn't want to
Support
do, like,
your own,
yes,
support
yes,
local.
yes,
Yes,
support
very
local.
important during pandemic
There
times.
is no. We could have done plastic cards, which would have made the
We-
box much cheaper. A lot of people would have loved it.
That-
Honestly, I never thought a pack of cards would be so expensive. But when I got it and I saw the feel of the box and I saw the feel of the cards and the kind of detailing on each and everything, then I realized, yes, sometimes you just have to pay for quality and content, which is sometimes not seen, because people only look at the product without realizing the effort that went into the product, right?
It is a bad name we have. People do think it's
Yeah.
a little bit expensive, but like I said, this is done locally, so we're not going to get that price advantage of printing like 10,000 numbers in China, right?
Yeah.
So those kind of things. There is no plastic. We've made sure it's paper so that it's, degradable at some point in time. So when you consider all of these things, and most importantly, we wanted that experience. We wanted 500 cards. It, like most other versions of the game, actually have only up to about 400, but we felt like it would have compromised the experience of the game. You wouldn't get as many crazy answers if the numbers.
Yeah, because
were-
that's true. After
Yeah.
playing this game over at least 18 or 19 times, I still haven't got the same set of cards in my hand.
18 or 19 times.
Yes. So now that's my latest thing. Now, anybody comes to my house or any little get together that we haven't, hey, let's play Malayali Aano.
We started making this game in June 2020, and October?
Yeah.
October 2020 is when we came out with the first.
Yeah.
Like there were a lot of prototypes and all of that, but the first sale versions happened in October 2020.
You must have had some guinea pigs, right? To make sure that it was good.
We have a big group of Malayalis we hang out with in Bangalore. Like our regular inner circle
Yeah.
is like about 10 of us. There are like 1 or 2 non-Malayalis, but
They
they've
become
been, like,
Malayali.
converted enough.
Yeah,
Yes,
they're
it's
converted.
enough,
Yeah.
Yeah, we also need some education, right? Because we also want to know what the younger
younger
this thing
ones
is
are
thinking
doing.
and things like that. So we obviously had like a couple of our friends from that age group, or like people who are very in tune with the social media language and
Yes,
things like that.
that's right.
So we had a couple of those people come, and we kind of explained the concept to them and told them what exactly we need from them. So that was also really fun, because again that was during the time when we were doing video calls, and we'd have one of them pop in with all these things, and both of us are just sitting there like, my god, this is knowledge, this is education.
Yeah.
I had no idea this is what it was called in Malayalam.
Like we've made so many English words Manglish, no?
Yeah.
Like cuttify, onangify,
The fying of
The
everything.
fying of everything. So when you do that, it's like you suddenly realize, oh my God, this is what it's originally called and known. So those were good. So your guinea pigs actually. So what are the names of these guinea pigs? Let's talk about them.
So the main one has to be, he's a pilot.
Mr. Ajujo is our special consultant for all the Tara content.
Content in the box.
Okay. And there's a lot of Tara content. And if you're not Malayali, let me tell you, Tara means like real baseline humor, okay? These girls have actually created a storm because there are a lot of people who've actually got offended by the game. All right, we'll come to that.
And then we also had his brother, who also helped us a little bit. Then we had one of my cousins, Unni. He also helped us a lot because he's also connected into that local scene, and I think between Ajay and Unni, they have a vibe. So and
They're
then
also all friends.
they're also
right?
all
So,
friends,
like,
and
Yeah.
and then like obviously then there are like some friends like girls who we kept asking opinions to, like okay, are there certain things you've come across, things like that.
Should also talk about Shrew.
Yeah.
She
So
was, her roommate at the time was as
my
much
COVID my COVID flatmate. So she's not. I mean, she was born here, but then like most of her time she spent in Kuwait. So I used to consult with her because I also need to understand that. I mean, even though she's a proper Malayali and she's grown up, but there's a difference between growing up in Kerala and growing up there.
Totally.
So
The Gulf Malayali
the Gulf
perspective
Malayali
came from
perspective.
Ah,
of it.
true. And what's her name?
Her name is Sharanya.
Shari, but you call her Shrew.
We call her Shrew,
So
yeah.
definitely these girls have totally made this game to untame the Shrew because there is no taming in this game, right?
She really liked that.
Marketing is a totally different ball game. How do you convince someone they need to buy the game?
Like how when Sona said that, how Malayalis are all about connection, and we just used our own connection
That's
and
it.
network. That's it.
That's just it. We opened it out to friends and family. We printed a test batch of 100 boxes first.
Okay.
We opened it out to friends and family. We sent it out on WhatsApp. It took us 4.5 days to sell those.
Wow.
Yeah, that was it.
That was it. By the 5th day, we were like, okay, like we've got 100 sorted, now we'll go for the bigger batch. And from there, people played. And in fact, the first the random inquiry that came on Instagram was when someone we knew bought this in the first 100 batch. They posted a story. It was as simple as that. And
Yeah.
from that story, somebody else has seen it and
Yeah,
oh,
like
what
me.
is this game?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
So
you saw-
Ria and
yeah.
Tracy and all were playing this during, and I'm like, what? Why am I left
It's
out
just
of
been
this?
mostly that, and then of course social media now.
Yeah,
because-
social media played a really big. I mean, the fact that social media reaches far and wide. We did a pre-order where we reached out to a lot of friends and things like that. We had a few boxes left. Those few boxes were just social media inquiries, and that too from far and wide. We had people from Dubai, from Botswana,
Really?
from yeah, then from the from your
Sometimes you get
US.
orders and like, oh, which country is this?
No. How lovely. Other than Malayali Aano, how did you come up with the name for your company, Lol Salam?
It was just one of those moments where it just came and I texted it to her and she's like, people are not going to take us seriously. We're like, okay, yeah, that's true. But nobody will take us seriously with this name.
But I think it just
But,
clicked,
yeah.
you know, like for us, I think when she sent it and I'm just like, wow, we made a game, people are not going to take us seriously, let's go ahead with it.
I'll add to why that name really resonated with us, because Lal Salam is obviously like, you know, your cause for something, right? You're
Yes.
saluting something that you believe in.
Yes.
We just wanted to pun on LOL because that's LOL. It's basically a salute and a tribute to all Malayalis, because for us sense of humor is very in us, right? We have the
Yeah.
ability to take a joke on ourselves, right? It's a huge part of our culture, and like we really like keep it alive. We don't let it die. From our movies to our culture to the way we interact with one another, we don't let humor die.
I need to say is that when I first opened this box, I did not really know who the makers of this card game was. I was pleasantly surprised and proud that this was the work of two girls,
Thank you.
but two women. And two very educated, very qualified Indian women. I'm sure you all faced criticism for the content.
Of course, because you've read the content. So there are people who recently, I'll tell you this example of a recent text that we got. It hasn't been much though. I must say that it's not even been half of what we were expecting. We were really willing to put our neck on the line saying, let's put this out there and see what happens, right?
Yeah.
And we're both people who don't mind it. We're not like afraid of things like that. So we anyway went ahead and did this. But this guy, he texted us saying, hey, I really enjoyed the game and all that. But just a suggestion, don't you think some of the content is a little sexist? It's a little like derogatory. And so like for us, that was the point, right? So we replied to him saying, this is exactly the reason it is there, right? We told him, you're absolutely right. It is absolutely sexist, absolutely derogatory. These are things that you should not be saying. You want me to say other words?
So give me an example of some of the words that people could take offense to.
Like there is a card that says, Nee verum pen aipoi, pen. Right?
That means you're
just
basically
a
a
woman,
woman.
right?
It's taken
Yeah.
from a movie. Like it's a
Now,
movie
so
dialogue.
what we told him is that, see, the reason we've handpicked some of this content and put it there is because, like him, only when you read it out of context of the place that you've seen it originally, do you realize how bad it actually is,
sounds,
right?
yeah, it's not
Right?
that, yes.
He's able to call out saying that is bad, and I'm like, yes,
That's what
bro,
we want.
that's from a movie you have clapped too.
Yeah.
And that's
Right?
what it
Yes.
is. And like now when you say it, hey, don't be a sissy, you actually check yourself, because
Yeah.
it's not unmanly to cry or feel sad or
Absolutely.
make cookies or things like that. So when
Absolutely.
so basically your card game has actually also made people think and say, hey, that doesn't sound right. So tell me, Rose, what was some other cards that you could talk about?
So another one, so there is a bit of a sexual content. There are like some sexual terms in this. So I think having had those terms in this has also there are some people who found it a little bit
So
of
give me
a-
one word.
So there is a card which says Swayam Bhogam, which means masturbation.
Okay.
Okay. So it was knowledge for me too. But the fact that we put it out there because, like me, there were many people who laughed knowing that that was what this card meant.
Yeah, because I would never thought that.
Like I was like, wow, like so many years I've lived in this planet. I didn't know this is what that meant.
It doesn't have to be so taboo to talk about
Exactly.
these things all the
And
time. Put
why
it out
is
there,
it
talk about
suddenly-
it, it's
exactly.
better.
I know.
And why is it suddenly more crass when it is it is in a regional language, in the most purest way that regional language talks about that word.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
just that. So we were like, you know what, let's put it. But the fact is that there is a section of people who will be like, oh my god, we laughed. So
Yes.
how they found out the meaning of this is also, there'll be like maybe one person in that group who will actually know what it means.
True.
Okay.
Yes.
One is that.
And that guy will definitely play that
Card. Okay.
So
and
that-
explain it to the rest of the group and they'll have a good laugh.
So sometimes I've got this card couple of times and it's Gada Jam.
Gada Jam.
Yeah.
Gada
yeah.
Jam.
So see, I didn't even know how to
I
pronounce it.
love you, Gada Jam.
illa ketitilla.
You should watch the movie. The movie is called Vandana. It's an old Mohanlal movie.
Okay.
And the movie basically, the actress's name is Gada, and she works in an advertising agency. And you know how back
So if you come from a mixed background like me, you would have never thought of her name being Gadha.
Yeah.
I thought of it
Gada.
as Gadha.
You know how heroes back in the 80s and 90s were? Like, we did a Valentine's Day series
Yes.
on our Instagram recently, which just showed the proposals of Malayalam cinema.
Okay.
You know,
You
like,
have to pursue. No matter what, you just
no
have
is
to
not
pursue.
an answer. You have to
Pursue. Other.
So that until the girl falls in love.
Greatest part about playing it with friends and family is like, I had this moment when we were playing this in Marari, sitting with my brother-in-law and sister-in-law and everything, and he asked a question. I can't remember the question, but I had suddenly looked at my cards and it had Mr. Butler. Now Mr. Butler is a household name, and the company belongs to my brother-in-law's family, and I'm like, oh my god, and I put the card down, but he was so excited. He said, that's the only green card I ever won in
the
my life.
question.
Yeah,
And
that
that's
means-
one of our favorite videos because it shows them cheering after that.
Me Ponapur Alena, me Mr. Butler.
And then
good.
few rounds later, something happened, and I asked the question, and the answer was Natalingum Patai. And obviously, so in one, in just playing the game, it's something you identify with. Natalingum Patai is the tagline of my company, Radio Mango. I've been working there for 13 and a half years. So it also not only makes you discover things about Malayalam, it also makes you belong and believe that this is your own.
If you felt that, we've done our job.
Yes, in fact, that's the one line I would like to use for Malayali Aano. The most exclusive thing about it is that it's inclusive. It's inclusive of love and friendship and madness and tara and teripata. A lot of education which has come inadvertently, and I would request all of you, I know we all use cuss words, and I think it's a way of, totally letting go and letting your hair down. So don't take these things personally, because I think there's a lot of fun and emotion involved in all of this, right?
Yeah.
The game was played between somebody with people who were 17 years old right up to 82, which was my mother-in-law. I have to say, for my mom, she was so chilled out about it. Alice Amma from Kottayam, she was like, aha, ingine undo. And on the other side, I had my son and his cousin sitting there. So, oh my God. So for all of you who've heard about Malayali Aano but really want to know more about it before you invest in this great box, we have both of them to tell us.
So basically this is Malayali Aano. It's a game with a lot of cards inside, and to know more, there's a sheet which has the rules, and we have the back of the box, which is basically gives you a gist of what the game is with some examples. It's strictly 18 plus because we do have some adulterated content inside. You need a minimum of 4 players to play this game, but a maximum you can go up to 20. But we would say an ideal number would be like about somewhere between 8 to 12. So if you have more people, you can play in teams. You can have 2 people in a team and things like that. So and we've tried to keep it as funny as possible, and we are available on our website, which is www.malayaliaano.com, and our Instagram handle is Malayali Aano Game. We are on Facebook and Twitter also at Malayali Aano Game, and you can shop from us directly on our website. We ship worldwide. Otherwise, if you want to see the box and buy, we're available in Kochi at Crosswords in Lulu and Panambli Nagar, at French Toast. In Bangalore, we're available at DYU Art Cafe. We are also going to be stocking in a few places, which is a few cities like Trivandrum, Thrissur, Kottayam.
Now to quickly talk about the rules of the game. So the box comes with 100 of these green cards, which are question cards, and about 400 of these cards, which are your answer cards. So when you start the game, you distribute 10 of these to everyone. So everyone gets a stack of about 10 cards distributed at random. One person is chosen to start the game. There's a fun way to pick that person for the first round. We call that person Judgy Adheyam.
But how do you choose that person?
Do you want me to say it?
Yeah.
I think it's a surprise.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that's one element of surprise we put in the box because it's an icebreaker and we would want people to find it out for themselves.
Yeah, also
Okay.
because we've like spent a lot of effort writing this,
Yes.
so we want people to read
Yes.
this, so you'll find out how it is done. There.
Okay, great.
I don't want to give it away, but anyway, the first Judgiya Deham will take. So we'll have these green cards as a stack. The first Judgiya Deham will pick a card and ask that question out loud. So, for example, this card says, "Dash Purushanmare Penguttigalku Ishtamalle, don't they like?" So, if you are a movie buff, you know this line is from In Harihar Nagar.
Okay, yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So, the job of the people playing the game is simply to find the funniest answer to this. There is no right answer in this game.
So
It's
you
not-
will, if you are the
Yes.
Judgiya Deham, you will decide which is the funniest answer.
Funniest
Ah,
Yes.
okay.
I
There
will
is-
decide,
Yeah,
yeah.
there is no right or wrong answer. Everything is an independent card on its own.
Everybody's put down their stack of cards. The Judgiya Deham, that is me in this round. I have no idea who's played which card. So I'm going to read the question along with all the answers. So the first one says, Anapara Achamma smashing patriarchy Purushanmare Penguttigalku Ishtamalle, don't they like? പെൺകുട്ടികൾക്ക് ഭയങ്കര ഇഷ്ടമായിരിക്കും സ്മാഷിംഗ് പേട്രിയാർക്കി
അതെ.
കളരിപ്പയറ്റ് പുരുഷന്മാരെ പെൺകുട്ടികൾക്ക് ഇഷ്ടമല്ലേ? ഫഹദ് ഫാസിൽ ദ കംപ്ലീറ്റ് ആക്ടർ പുരുഷന്മാരെ പെൺകുട്ടികൾക്ക് ഇഷ്ടമല്ലേ? ട്രോളന്മാര് പുരുഷന്മാരെ പെൺകുട്ടികൾക്ക് ഇഷ്ടമല്ലേ?
ഭയങ്കര ഇഷ്ടാ.
ഭയങ്കര ഇഷ്ടാ. ചേട്ടന്മാര് ഭയങ്കര ഇഷ്ടാട്ടോ. കണ്ടിന്യൂ യുവർ ഗുഡ് വർക്ക്. ഐ തിങ്ക് ദിസ് ഇസ് മൈ ഫേവറേറ്റ്. KeralaMatrimony.com പുരുഷന്മാരെ പെൺകുട്ടികൾക്ക് ഇഷ്ടമല്ലേ? എന്താ ഇഷ്ടമില്ല?
And for all of you who didn't understand what she's saying, the ticker is going below the screen, so you will understand exactly why and what she meant. We of course do this because every episode of ours is dedicated to people who have special hearing.
Two final contestants are Trollanmaru and KeralaMatrimony.com. I think I am going for KeralaMatrimony.com.
Yes, finally!
So now because you won that round, this card is yours.
Okay, yes.
Right? And the next Judgiya Deham, that is for the next round, will be the person sitting on either side of me.
Okay, then it just
And then
goes
it just
like
continues.
in an
Yeah.
anti-clockwise or clockwise.
Yeah.
So the person who wins the most number of cards, green cards, at the end of all the rounds is the winner of the game, is the Tani Malayali.
Tani Malayali.
Tani Malayali.
Oh, I love that word. The winner is called Tani Malayali.
Yes.
How did you all come up with that?
That was just very like I think that happened in a second.
Tani Malayali.
Like, come on,
Malayali,
Tani Malayali,
Tani Malayali.
Tani Malayali. Because I feel like whenever you with company and they don't know how much of a Malayali you are, and then you start talking to them about all these, suddenly they're like, oh, Tani Malayali alle. Like it's that,
yes.
Whoever the winner of the game is, who have the maximum number of green cards, gets to pose with this card, which is our Tani Malayali card. And now this is actually a thing that became an internet thing on its own, is the fact that we are Malayalis. Everybody puts it on their forehead and takes a picture with it.
Now I
So
get
it's-
it.
We haven't asked
We
anybody
haven't asked
to do
anyone,
it.
and it sticks, so it stays there, and like that's how people have been sending us pictures.
Okay, I tell you, this has been just such a fabulous afternoon. Thank you girls so much for being with us. And I'm sure that, this is going to reach out to a lot more people because of you. And I'd like to tell you that you could follow us on Instagram at India Diary by Anjali Uthup. You could also follow us on YouTube at India Diary by Anjali Uthup. And email us at indiadiary22@gmail.com. But there's also a little surprise. Thank you for watching this episode. If you do want to order this game after watching this episode on any of the platforms that they advertise on, you get a 10% discount. And the code that you need to use is India Diary. Yes, thank you so much for always being part of India Diary. Looking forward to seeing you for the next edition of the Cove Indian.
It was good fun.
Absolutely, because we're all Tani Malayali.
Tani Malayalis.